Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda. We are continuing with Chaitanya Charitamrta Adi Lila. Chapter number 2, Lord Chaitanya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, verse number 20. Athava bahunaitena kim jnatena tavarjuna vishtavyaham idam kritsnam ekam shena sthito jagat. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The personality of Godhead Sri Krishna said, "What more shall I say to you? I live throughout this cosmic manifestation merely by my single plenary portion." Purport. Describing his own potencies to Arjuna, the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna spoke this verse of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse number 42. So, in this is a verse from Bhagavad Gita. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So this verse number 20 actually is from Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, verse number 42. And in the purport of this verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that Krishna is present throughout this universe. How? By entering as super soul in the heart of every living entity. And to know that Krishna is present in all living entities means right from Brahma to that insignificant ant. That is why this is the reason that we can say that Krishna is existing everywhere and he's also sustaining. So this is a beautiful verse from Bhagavad Gita. Text number 21. Tamimam aham ajam sharira bhajam hridi hridi dishtitam atma kalpitamam pratidrusham eva naikadharpam ekam samadhigato asmi vidhut vedamoha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Grandfather Bhishma said, "As the one sun appears differently situated to different seers, so also do you, the unborn, appear differently represented as the Paramatma in every living being. But when a seer knows himself to be one of your own servitors, no longer does he maintain such duality. Thus, I am now able to comprehend your eternal forms, knowing well the Paramatma to be only your plenary portion." Purport. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, verse 42, was spoken by Bhishma Dev, the grandfather of the Kurus, when he was lying on a bed of arrows at the last stage of his life. Arjuna, Krishna, and numberless friends, admirers, relatives, and sages had gathered on the scene as Maharaj Yudhishthira took moral and religious instructions from the dying Bhishma. Just as the final moment arrived for him, Bhishma spoke this verse while looking at Lord Krishna. Just as the one sun is the object of vision of many different persons, so the one partial representation of Lord Krishna who lives in the heart of every living entity as the Paramatma is a variously perceived object. One who comes intimately in touch with Lord Krishna by engaging in his eternal service sees the Supersoul as a localized partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhishma knew the Supersoul to be a partial expansion of Lord Krishna, whom he understood to be the Supreme, Unborn, Transcendental Form. It's very nice that in the early verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita, we are hearing about Bhishma Dev. We have heard a lot about Bhishma Dev, and here also he is talking about Krishna situated as Paramatma in everyone's heart. See, Krishna is the source and cause of everything. Like in chapter 10 itself, Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabho mataha sarvam pravartate. Everything emanates from Krishna, and we have learned even from Brahma Samhita that there's no one equal to Krishna or above Krishna. And of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also talked about his opulences, but he just said, this is just a little bit of my opulences that I'm explaining to you. So from the Bhagavad Gita, we already understood how great Krishna is. He is all pervading. He is there as Paramatma in each and every living entity's heart. And here we can see that Bhishma Dev, a pure devotee, a Mahajana, he is also fixing his mind on Krishna. Just before he's leaving his body, he is fixing his mind. So Bhishma is acknowledging. See, he's acknowledging, first of all, the presence of Krishna and acknowledging Krishna's partial, plenary portion as Paramatma and acknowledging Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead, right? He was in a very painful condition. This is what we learn from Bhishma Dev, that it doesn't matter if a devotee is even in a very painful condition. I mean, imagine um, lying on bed of arrows, so painful, and he was lying on that bed of arrows for a very long time, waiting for Krishna to come at the last moment, waiting for Yudhishthira Maharaj to come so he could give what, the moral and religious instructions to Yudhishthira Maharaj before leaving the body. So he was instructing Yudhishthira Maharaj because Yudhishthira Maharaj was distraught, right? He thought that so many soldiers died because of him. But Yudhishthira Maharaj did not realize that it was Krishna's will. So here, Bhishma Dev, Krishna wanted Bhishma Dev to explain to Yudhishthira Maharaj, bring back his confidence, make him understand so that he could continue to rule the kingdom. See? So here, Bhishma Dev, we can see from his what he said, that Krishna is expanding into different portions, and it is not possible to understand Krishna's inconceivable energy. That's why it's called inconceivable. That means we cannot conceive it. And nice example is given here of the sun, right? So as the sun appears differently situated to different seers, so right now the sun is shining, so I may think that sun is only in Sandy Springs, and y'all may think no, sun is in Houston. Some may think no, the sun is only in Cumming, but there is just one sun up there, right? But it's diffusing its sunlight everywhere. So similarly, Krishna being in one place, he is diffusing his potency by situating himself as Paramatma in each and every living entity's heart. So, Bhishma Dev, he knew Krishna's position, he knew Krishna as Paramatma in the heart, and he also knew that there is no other way to know Krishna except devotional service. And service means we are the servant. So until and unless we take the position of being an eternal servant of Krishna, we will not be able to really perform devotional service. And what is the purpose of devotional service? Not only to know Krishna, but that is an ultimate goal, but during that step by step process, we first of all learn to not get affected by dualities. Oh, it's too cold today. Oh, it's too hot. Today I'm happy. Today I'm sad. Oh, this, I failed in this. Oh, I was successful. No, no more dualities. So here we can see that nice example of the sun is given. Just like the sun is present everywhere, Krishna is also present as the Paramatma. Of course, there is no difference between Krishna's Brahma Jyoti, Krishna expanding as Paramatma, or Krishna himself as a supreme personality of Godhead. In the purport also, Srila Prabhupada, even in Bhagavad Gita, he explains that less intelligent people see this difference between Brahma Jyoti, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. No. Bhishma Dev, excuse me, he did not have any misconceptions. Right from the beginning, he was a pure devotee and he lived his life fully dedicated to Krishna, even though he was on the side of the Kauravas because of whatever reason. But at heart, he was a devotee of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And he was, as we can see in this situation when he is lying on the bed of arrows, he was fully satisfied. What a great benediction he had, that he could choose to die whenever he wanted. Imagine if we got that benediction. We may never want to die. Oh, let me live for 100 years. Oh, let me get into the Guinness Book of World Records and live for 200 years. No one has lived for that. No. He knew that he had that benediction and he knew when to use that benediction. And when did he use it? Only when Krishna was present in front of him, even though he was giving instructions to Yudhishthira Maharaj, but his gaze was only on Krishna. How very focused, right? He knew the purpose of life. He had no misconception. He was fully satisfied. And this is possible only for Mahajanas or a Mahatma or a pure devotee, right? It is confirmed that Bhishma Dev is a Mahajana. So, from this Bhishma Dev's life, what do we understand? That we should also try to become a pure devotee of the Lord, fully surrender to the Lord, prepare our life in such a way that at the time of death, we are able to have darshan of Krishna. Now that is a very high level stage. So, but there is no harm in trying. We should try hard. And Krishna, when he will see our endeavors, then he will bless us. So here we can see that this verse is spoken at the last minute when Bhishma Dev is about to leave the body. And he was very fortunate to be able to see Krishna just before leaving the body. Verse number 22. Saita Govinda Saksha Caitanya Gosani Jiva Nistarite Aiche Dayalu Aranai. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. That Govinda personally appears as Chaitanya Goswami. No other Lord is as merciful in delivering the fallen souls. Purport. Having described Govinda in terms of his Brahman and Paramatma features, now the author of Sri Chaitanya Caritamrta advances his argument to prove that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the identical personality. The same Lord Sri Krishna, in the garb of a devotee of Sri Krishna, descended to this mortal world to reclaim the fallen human beings who had misunderstood the personality of Godhead, even after the explanation of the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna directly instructed that the Supreme is a person, that the impersonal Brahman is his glowing effulgence, and that the Paramatma is his partial representation. All men were therefore advised to follow the path of Sri Krishna, leaving aside all mundane isms. Offenders misunderstood this instruction, however, because of their poor fund of knowledge. Thus, by his causeless, unlimited mercy, Sri Krishna came again as Sri Chaitanya Goswami. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita most emphatically stresses that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna himself. He is not an expansion of the Prakash or Vilas forms of Sri Krishna. He is the Swayam Rupa Govinda. Apart from the relevant scriptural evidence forwarded by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, there are innumerable other scriptural statements regarding Lord Chaitanya as being the Supreme Lord himself. The following examples may be cited. So we can see from the Chaitanya Upanishad, then from Shvetashvatara Upanishad, then also from Mundaka Upanishad, and then from Srimad Bhagavatam. So we can see there is from Brahma Yamala Tantra, everywhere we can see that it is showing that Krishna is same as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is same as Krishna. There is no difference at all. So y'all can afterwards go through these references which are there in Upanishads and Srimad Bhagavatam and Brahma Yamala Tantra. The Supreme Person, Sri Krishna Himself, who is the life of Sri Radharani and is the Lord of the universe in creation, maintenance, and annihilations, appears as Gaura or Maheshwari. So here we see so many references that indicate that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than Krishna himself. He is Mahavadanyaya, most merciful. Right? When Krishna came 5,000 years ago, he demanded, surrender unto me, fix your mind over me, anything you do, do as an offering unto me. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, he knew we are lazy people. We are not going to do what Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita. So he made it so simple. He just said, just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Why did he appear? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is called Mahavadanyaya because he felt compassion for fallen souls like us. He wanted to deliver the fallen souls of this Kali Yuga. He just wanted to give us a very easy, simple process. Just chant and go back to Godhead. So here, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he wants to prove with all these references that Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are the same. There is no difference at all. But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came about 540 years ago, he came as a Chana avatar, as a hidden avatar. He came as a devotee because he knew that we are so fallen that if he came in his Supreme Personality of Godhead form, we may not take him seriously because we'll say, oh, that's God, God can do that. But he came as a devotee to show us how to become a devotee. He was so merciful, he came as a devotee. Simple plain clothes. He even took sannyas to show us. So merciful. Why? So that he can reclaim us. We have been, suffering here in this material world. And as we know that Kali Yuga is going to progress more and more, it's going to get more and more degraded. So it's going to be more and more difficult for us to go back to home. So here he has come as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just to take us back home. But we are so unfortunate. We hear about it, but we still are doubtful or we are not very comfortable to completely surrender, right? We don't want to follow it 100%. 5,000 years ago, Krishna said, Sarva dharman parityagya mam ekam sharanam vraja. You abandon all varieties of religion. Just surrender unto me, right? That is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And devotional service is the only way. But again, he has come as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, Are Baba, if you cannot do all those things, just chant nicely. Chant attentively. Every morning when we are chanting, first of all, chanting should be early in the morning in the Brahma Muhurat. Everything else can wait. So when we are chanting in the morning, we have to make conscious effort. Every time we start chanting the mantra, we must be aware that we are calling out to Krishna, that we are asking for his presence. We want him to look at us. We are calling out to help us. So then we also have to be conscious that if we are calling, that we are present, that we are hearing the holy names of the Supreme Lord. So here in the purport it says, this is Govinda who has come, right? Govinda himself. So many references are given. Why are the references mentioned? They are mentioned so that we can understand and also be able to preach. If someone, says, "Oh, I don't believe Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself," we have 3 pages of references to go to and show them, look, the Vedic scriptures clearly mention that Krishna himself came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Verse number 23. परव्योमेते वैसे नारायण नाम सदैश्वर्य पूर्ण लक्ष्मी कांत भगवान. Translation. Lord Narayana, who dominates the transcendental world, is full in 6 opulences. He is the personality of Godhead, the Lord of the goddess of fortune. Talking about 6 opulences, it reminds us of Parashar Muni, who clearly said, Eshwarasya Samagrasya Virasya Yashashriya. He gave the reference that Krishna has these 6 opulences in full. That is why he is called the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 24. Veda Bhagavata Upanishadagama Purna Tattva Yanra Kahe Nahi Yanra Sama. Translation. The personality of Godhead is He who is described as the absolute whole in the Vedas, Bhagavatam, Upanishads, and other transcendental literatures. No one is equal to Him. Purport. There are innumerable authoritative statements in the Vedas regarding the personal feature of the Absolute Truth. Some of them are as follows. From Rik Samhita, the personality of Godhead Vishnu is the Absolute Truth, whose lotus feet all the demigods are always eager to see. Like the sun god, he pervades everything by the rays of his energy. He appears impersonal to imperfect eyes. From the Narayana Tharva Shira Upanishad. It is from Narayana only that everything is generated, by him only that everything is maintained, and in him only that everything is annihilated. Therefore, Narayana is eternally existing. Everything that exists now or will be created in the future is nothing but Narayana, who is the unadulterated deity. There is only Narayana and nothing else. From the Narayana Upanishad, Narayana is the source from whom all the universes emanate. From the Hirshisha Pancharatra, Hari is the Supreme Lord. From Srimad Bhagavatam, O best of the Brahmanas, please tell us of the position of Narayana, who is also known as Brahman and Paramatma. O King, know him who is causeless and yet is a cause of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. He exists in the 3 states of consciousness, namely waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, as well as beyond them. He enlivens the body, the senses, the breath of life, and the heart, and thus they move. Know him to be supreme. So many references. We have already learned in Bhagavad Gita, right? That Krishna is the cause of all causes. He is the cause of all causes, but we are so proud. We think that we are the ones who are the cause of our body. We are the ones who are the cause of our actions. We are the ones who are running this body. We think we are in control of our lives, but here it is stating that Krishna is the one who enlivens the body. He enlivens the senses. It's because Krishna sanctions it that we are able to see, we are able to hear, we are able to speak, we are able to walk, right? He enlivens the heart because he's situated in the heart. That is why, see, the doctors clearly say that the energy for the whole body comes from the heart, right? But it is not the physical heart itself, it is the super soul within the heart that is giving the energy to the whole body. It is that super soul that is enlivening this body, enlivening the senses to work. That's why this body is moving, right? So when the Supreme Lord decides drama is finished, the play is over, the curtain is going to drop, and then that will be the end. So it's important to understand that we are totally, completely, absolutely dependent on Lord Sri Krishna. So it behooves us to chant his holy names with full dedication, with full heart, with full sincerity and full attention, so that we can connect with him, right? We can somehow or the other revive our lost relationship with him and become qualified to go back to Godhead. Verse number 25. Bhakti yoge bhaktapaya yana hara darshana surya yena savigraha dekhe devagana. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Through their service, devotees see that personality of Godhead, just as the denizens of heaven see the personality of the sun. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has his eternal form, which cannot be seen by material eyes or mental speculation. Only by transcendental devotional service can one understand the transcendental form of the Lord. The comparison is made here to the qualifications for viewing the personal features of the sun god. The sun god is a person who, although not visible to our eyes, is seen from the higher planets by the demigods whose eyes are suitable for seeing through the glaring sunshine that surrounds him. Every planet has its own atmosphere according to the influence of the arrangement of material nature. It is therefore necessary to have a particular type of bodily construction to reach a particular planet. The inhabitants of earth may be able to reach the moon, but the inhabitants of heaven can reach even the fiery sphere called the sun. What is impossible for man on earth is easy for the demigods in heaven because of their different bodies. Similarly, to see the Supreme Lord, one must have the spiritual eyes of devotional service. The personality of Godhead is unapproachable by those who are habituated to speculation about the absolute truth in terms of experimental scientific thought without reference to the transcendental vibration. The ascending approach to the absolute truth ends in the realization of impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma, but not the supreme transcendental personality. So, how can we see Krishna? Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Only by devotional service can we see Krishna. Only by devotional service we will get that divine vision to see Krishna, just like Vyasadeva gave divine vision to Sanjaya so that he could see what was happening on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And how can Lord Brahma explains how can we get that divine vision, that spiritual vision? He says, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena, right? It is Anjana, it's the ointment of prema, of love that we put in our eyes, only then we can see Krishna. So that how do we get that ointment of love? Only by performing devotional service. There is no other way, right? What does Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say? Kalau nastev, nastev, nastev gatiranatha. There is no other way, no other way, no other way except chanting, chanting, chanting. So here Prabhupada is, he's describing this verse with comparison with the sun, right? With the sun god. So sun god, we know, we have learned in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada explained that sun god is a personality. And it is not possible to just see him. You have to have special vision. The demigods have that special vision, so they can see the sun god, right? Because they are at that level of devotion. So we know sun is very, very hot. We can't even see the sun directly with our naked eyes. It's not possible. It's so bright. So imagine if the sunshine is unbearable for us to see with our naked eye, how can we see the sun god? We cannot, right? But the demigods can. Why? Because they have got the special vision, as Prabhupada explains, right? That's why even through the glaring sunshine, they are able to see the sun god. So, if you all remember, Srila Prabhupada wrote a very nice small book called Easy Journey to Other Planets, right? It That book tells us, Srila Prabhupada tells us with references that it is possible to go to other planets provided we have a suitable body for that. Even to enter the moon planet, like people say we landed on moon, we need to have a special body to even go to moon planets. So demigods, they have different kind of bodies, right? They can easily go from one planet to another, but that is not possible for us. So in, of course, in the verse, Prabhupada is talking about mental speculation, and we've heard about this many times, where we understand that mental speculation cannot get us anywhere, nowhere at all, right? That will neither take us towards Krishna nor on the devotional path, because mental speculation will just take us away from Krishna, because we are imperfect beings. We cannot give perfect knowledge. We have to take it from authority, from the parampara. Krishna can be approached only through the disciplic succession, and Krishna can be seen only by pure devotees, right? So we may have the desire, to see Krishna, but if our desire is very sincere, we really want to see him, then we must really work hard on performing pure devotional service, right? Then we will be able to come to that stage. So here there's a nice point in this translation where it says, through their service. So demigods also are able to see the sun god through service. So our constitutional position being that of a eternal servant of Krishna. Servant means service. And what kind of service? Pure devotional service. Verse 26. Jnana yoga marge tanre bhajaye saba brahma atma rupe tanre kare anubhava. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Those who walk the paths of knowledge and yoga worship only Him, for it is Him they perceive as the impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma. Purport. Those who are fond of mental speculation, Jnanamarga, or want to meditate in mystic yoga to find the absolute truth, must approach the impersonal effulgence of the Lord and His partial representation respectively. Such persons cannot realize the eternal form of the Lord. So now here we have to make a choice. Which aspect of the Lord do we want to achieve? Is it impersonal Brahman, Brahmajyoti? Is it Paramatma within the heart? Or is it the supreme personality of Godhead? It's very simple to understand, right? What is our goal is what we have to set, that, okay, this is the aspect of the Lord that I am interested in. So if we want the highest stage of realization, which is Bhagavan realization, then there is no other option except to perform pure devotional service. And to reach to that stage of pure devotion, one has to follow the process very sincerely, follow the rules and regulations very strictly, and not be casual about the rules. The rules are already given to us. Most of us are initiated. We already know the rules and regulations. And not only that, in to achieve pure devotional service, there has to be enthusiasm. If there is no enthusiasm, then what does Prabhupada say? Then we should pretend to be enthusiastic. Then we will become enthusiastic. Then there has to be sincerity. So when we follow this process sincerely as given to us by Guru and the Parampara, then we will be gradually able to elevate ourselves to pure devotional service. Verse 27. उपासना भेदे जानी ईश्वर महिमा अतैव सूर्यतंड दीयता उपमा. Translation. Thus one may understand the glories of the Lord through different modes of worship, as the analogy of the sun illustrates. 28. Say Narayana Krishnera Swarupa Bheda Ekai Vigraha Kintu Akara Vibheda. Translation. Narayana and Sri Krishna are the same personality of Godhead, but although they are identical, their bodily features are different. Text 29. इन्हो तद्वि भुज तीन्हो धरे चारि हाथ इन्हो वेणु धारे तीन्हो चक्रादिक साथ. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. This personality of Godhead Sri Krishna has two hands and holds a flute, whereas the other, Narayana, has four hands with conch, wheel, mace, and lotus. Purport. Narayana is identical to Sri Krishna. They are in fact the same person manifested differently, like a high court judge who is differently situated in his office and at home. As Narayana, the Lord is manifested with four hands, but as Krishna, he is manifested with two hands. So we see, we've already learned this in Bhagavad Gita, that they are identical, there's no difference. But we also know from Bhagavad Gita that Narayana comes from Krishna, if you remember Bhagavad Gita. And this was theory. And then in chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna demonstrated it practically, that how Lord Vishnu or Narayana came from the form of Krishna. Verse 30. नारायणस्त्वं न हि सर्वदेहिनाम् आत्मास्यधिशाखिललोकसाक्षी नारायणाङ्गं नरभूजलायनात् तच्चापि सत्यं न तवैव माया. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. O Lord of Lords, you are the seer of all creation. You are indeed everyone's dearest life. Are you not, therefore, my Father, Narayana? Narayana refers to one whose abode is in the water born from Nara Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and that Narayana is your plenary portion. All your plenary portions are transcendental, they are absolute and are not creations of Maya. Purport. This statement, which is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 14, verse 14, was spoken by Lord Brahma in his prayers to Lord Krishna after the Lord had defeated him by displaying his mystic powers. Brahma had tried to test Lord Krishna to see if he were really the supreme personality of Godhead playing as a cowherd boy. Brahma stole all the other boys and their cows from the pasturing grounds, but when he returned to the pastures, he saw that all the boys and calves were still there, for Lord Krishna had created them all again. When Brahma saw this mystic power of Lord Krishna's, he admitted defeat and offered prayers to the Lord, addressing him as the proprietor and seer of everything in the creation and as the supersoul who is within each and every living entity and is dear to all. That Lord Krishna is Narayana, the father of Brahma, because Lord Krishna's plenary expansion, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, after placing himself on the Garbha ocean, created Brahma from his own body. Mahavishnu is the causal ocean, and Kshirodakshai Vishnu, the supersoul in everyone's heart, are also transcendental expansions of the supreme truths. So we have learned this in Srimad Bhagavatam a few months ago, and we have heard about this beautiful pastime of Lord Brahma stealing the boys and the cows, also thinking that, oh, this is just a little cowherd boy, what can he do? Let me, try this trick of taking away all his friends and calves. And then, he thought that this little boy will be really, upset or, lamenting, oh, where are my boys, friends, and, where are the calves? He did not realize that this Krishna is actually my father, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, right? We've learned from Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna expands as Mahavishnu, from whom all the universes appear. And then he expands as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and Lord Brahma is born from the navel, the lotus flower that appears from the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. So here, Lord Brahma did not realize this is my father. Excuse me. So, Lord Brahma, from this pastime, he could understand that I have offended the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because when he came back, he saw that Krishna was still playing with his little, cowherd boys, and the calves were also there. And then, of course, he also went back to see where he had hid the others, the originals. They were still there. And then he came back, and then he went back and forth, and he was like, then he realized, oh, this is Narayana. This is Garbhodakshay Vishnu. This is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the supermost mystic, right? He is Yogeshwara. He's the supermost mystic. So then, of course, we know from this pastime of Lord Brahma and Lord Krishna that Brahma felt really bad. He had offended. He had offended Krishna, and also he realized his mistake, that what an offense it was, and he immediately fell at the feet of Lord Krishna and begged for forgiveness. And then he said that yes, he offered prayers to Lord Krishna, and he said, yes, now I realized that you are that same personality. You are Garbhodakshay Vishnu. You are the super soul within the heart. You are the supreme personality of Godhead. You are the one who is the controller. You are the one who is the Bhagavan, the proprietor, the witness, the sanctioner, right? So from this pastime, we can see that, of course, we have to be very careful that we do not commit offenses. Because if we commit offenses, it may be in our mind, it may be through our words, it could be through our actions. You have to be very careful. And especially if you're offending a devotee, then our devotional service can come to a halt. They can be a speed breaker on our devotional service, on our devotional path. So we have to be very careful that we do two things simultaneously. We try hard to surrender to Krishna completely, and at the same time avoid offenses on this spiritual path. So if we completely surrender, we will be the ones who will benefit, right? Krishna is waiting for us. We heard in our last Saturday's class that there are two birds. They are on the same tree. One is the living entity, one is the super soul. Super soul is just waiting for this living entity to look at the super soul, to just turn. We just need to turn our focus, our attention to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And Prabhupada, he has given us everything for this process. He's given us the whole package for attaining pure devotional service. He has given us books, he has given us temples, he has given us the process, he's given us devotees for association, he has given us festivals, he's given us everything that is required to become a pure devotee of the Lord. All we have to do is put in our sincere effort. I'm not saying you are not. I also need to put in sincere effort to progress on the spiritual path, not remain stagnant on one state only. Oh, yeah, I've done my rounds for today, and my job is done. I'm following the 4 rules and regulations. I observe Ekadashi and I'm done. No, that is not sufficient at all. We have to progress on our spiritual path. We need to become very serious in Krishna consciousness, because this is a rare opportunity we have got. First of all, an opportunity to be a human being. Second golden opportunity, we have Guru, we have Srila Prabhupada's books, and most of all, we have devotee association. We are very, very fortunate to have everything. Like they say, we have all the tools that we need to perform pure devotional service. So we must take full advantage of this rare golden opportunity. So I am going to end here if anyone has any questions.